Okay, I don't have a question today that I'm going to ask. It's early August 2021 and things are kind of starting to get nuts, if they weren't already nuts enough with the whole situation with the, you know what's going on. So there's now military on the streets in Sydney, Australia. There's military that are gathering but haven't been activated yet in Brisbane, Australia, which isn't far from where I live. They're mandating vaccines all over the world. Businesses aren't allowing people to enter. Travel is being denied. There's growing statistics that new infections are people who have, a majority of people who have been injected. So it's really kind of getting nuts time. And I have a feeling I've kind of been getting the message that my guides have something to say. So I'm not going to ask a question, I'm just going to let them speak and see what happens. Alright. Okay, here we go. So this is I've never done this before. I've always come with a question, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen here. But well, let's go. Greetings and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to bring forward a message that we feel would be useful for you and those who watch at this time in the sequence of events that are unfolding on planet Earth. We realise this isn't the normal format, which usually begins with a question. However, it is not always necessary to begin with a question to create the wisdom gap, which we have spoken of before, where you bring to the union between us into the group being a wisdom gap. And then this wisdom gap is vacuous in nature, and it draws to it the corresponding wisdom to fill the void in the geometry that you bring. While you have not formally brought a question this time, we sense in you and in many others there is still this void in the geometric field. There is this drawing of an understanding which is slightly out of reach, and there is the awakening of intuition on your planet, and there is more and more within the human field who are beginning to draw their guidance from an internal place, and there is a sensing that there is something to be known before it is known. And this is what we are addressing, because we have recognized this sensing. We have recognized this intuitive sensing that there is something to be known, but it is yet unknown. And this is the beginning of the mechanism of remembering your own wisdom. And so we are choosing to be the conduit in this case, because it is such a universal calling that we are sensing throughout many parts of the human field. So, via the connection that we have made with the channel as the group being, this group being is going to be the conduit to bring forward information which we sense you are calling to you. And before we begin enunciating what that is, understand that this is not us giving you something because you are incapable of bringing that information to yourself, but rather this is the mechanism of you bringing the information to yourself. So this is your manifestation, that you are sitting here now listening to this information. And we make this point because we want to illustrate that you are much more powerful, much more capable of accessing the deep reservoirs of wisdom than perhaps you think that you are. Because there is this common belief: if the wisdom does not arise within such that you hear it internally, but instead comes from an external source, and you hear it externally through your ears, through your eyes, then it is because you have been in the presence of somebody who can teach you what you cannot teach yourself. But understand, the experience you are in and the avatar are the same substance. They are the substance of the experience of the higher self. It is the same medium. So whether it comes internally or it comes externally, it is still coming via your higher self, because it is all the one substance. It is the substance of the experience of the higher self. So, you hearing this now is your manifestation. Take credit for it. Accept that this is so. Accept that you have the capacity to bring to yourself wisdoms through multiple methodologies, multiple mechanisms. It can be internally, it can be externally. And whether it is internally or externally, it is still your manifestation. And one is not more illustrious than the other. So, this is the information we have sensed that you are sensing as a gap in your wisdom field. And so you have manifested it to come to you. There is growing concern on your planet that there is an unstoppable shift towards a dark outcome. As there is increasing regulation, there is increasing mandate, there is increasing despotism, unfairness, tyranny, to which there is seemingly less capacity to react, less capacity to escape, less capacity to sidestep and weave and dodge, so that you are not subjugated to these new sets of rules, these tightening, constricting sets of rules, which are sending the human framework towards an endpoint. It is a planned progression to an endpoint where the human field will be completely shut down, locked down, and denied human rights going forward perpetually. However, it is important to understand you are an eternal, immortal, invulnerable being. And this is nothing more than the playground of experience. From your higher self perspective, you have no concern. You have no fear, because you understand that this is just a dream state. This is just the illusion of physicality, so you can be blessed with the experience of discovering your oneness, of discovering the true essence of who you are. This is the purpose of the physical experience. You are not the avatar, mind, body, personality. You are the higher self puppeteering the avatar for this purpose of discovering the true self. So, in the true essence of who you are, which is the higher self, there is no concern, there is no fear. Instead, there is relish, there is excitement, there is a rich sense of anticipation at what can be accomplished, at what can be discovered about self in these present moments. You chose to be incarnated into this very complex and difficult field of physicality on the earth human experience because you wanted the intensity, the potency of experience which is capable here, so that you can go through the process of rapid, intense discovery of self. You felt confident enough, capable enough, experienced enough that you were prepared to step into what could be considered the most intense physical experience in existence. The experience in the earth human field is of a level of intensity which is at the pinnacle of what can be experienced in the physical field. Only those who are most capable, who are most profound in their capacity and tenacity to survive something as intense as the earth human experience will decide to be incarnated here. So understand, you are a highly conditioned spiritual athlete. That is why you have chosen to come here, because you knew you were up to the task. And the unique experience in the earth human field is to be born into a state of unawareness of connection to the light, unawareness of connection to the one. And then, through the gauntlet of darkness, discovering the one. Believing you are the darkness, because this is the dichotomous state of the solar system indigenous beings. To self-identify with the darkness, because you are born without recognition that you are, in fact, connected to the one. And that is the default mechanism of all species birthed into creation since the beginning. To be born. From the very first moments, with recognition, there is connection to one. In the billions of years that have passed, since the very first moments of creation, this has been the only way. And now, playing out in the solar system, your solar system, is this new paradigm. To be born without recognition of connection to the one. And instead, there is a process over many incarnations of discovering that you are connected to the one. And this is a very unique experience, and the outcome, the impact on the rest of creation when this experiment has completed, because it's an experiment in evolution, an evolutionary experiment. The impact is potentially profound, is potentially paradigm shifting for all of creation. So, not only is there much attention of what is happening here, but you, in a way, are the elite squad of souls that have come here to have this experience. You are like the Green Berets. You are like the special forces that I've come here to have this experience, while the rest of creation looks on to see how the very best, the most conditioned, the most prepared spiritual athletes can do in this experience. And so this experience of discovering the light through the gauntlet of the darkness, it is the process of discovering what you are not and then releasing it to reveal more of what you actually are beneath. You are an individuation of the love of the One. You are pure light, incarnated from the light. You are of the higher self, having a temporary physical experience. And this has always been true. You have been the higher self, having a physical experience from your very first incarnation in the earth human field. This has always been the case. And yet, Earth's human history has been steeped in suffering, darkness, death, disease, murder, rape, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And through this intense, immense suffering, which has the rest of the cosmos mouth open in astonishment of what you have endured, there has been an identification with the darkness, because in this dichotomous state, this unique capacity within the Earth, the solar system field, is this capacity to self-identify with the darkness, to believe that I am afraid, I am hateful, I am angry, I am depressed. All of these energies of the negative spectrum, of the dark end of the spectrum, self-identifying, believing they are you. I am angry. So, this self-identification with the darkness necessitates the discovery of who you are. Because when you believe, I am afraid of that disease, I am afraid of the consequences of that disease, this self-identity with the darkness is the preliminary condition to realizing that you are not the darkness, that the fear isn't yours, and then releasing the fear. I understand. I am not fear. I am misconceiving of self. I am believing that I am the fear, that it is my fear, but it is not. It is fear that has been inculcated into me. So I release the fear. And in releasing the fear, you discover beneath you are the courage of the light. And this is the process. Letting go of what you are not to discover beneath what you have always been. This is the mechanism of passing through the gauntlet of darkness on the way to realizing in totality that you are connected to the light, that you are an individuation of the One. And this ultimate epiphany will be the marker for transition from third density into fourth density, beginning the new Earth human paradigm. So, we say all of this because right now, in the Earth human experience, with the way that things are going with the pandemic, there is growing fear, growing concern, fear not only of the disease, but fear also of the way that life is being shut down because of the fear. Fear that there is a tyranny at play, and this is hiding behind the smokescreen of a disease which is not as deadly as is portrayed, because it is not about saving humanity from a disease, but instead it is about transitioning humanity into a state of impoverished subjugation, stripped of freedoms. Now, as we have said, the process, the mechanism of discovering the light is through the gauntlet of darkness. So, these experiences which are happening now, in the context of understanding you are an infinite, immortal, invulnerable being, are a blessing. It is nuance of the dream, nuance of the physical creation, which exists specifically for you to discover what you truly are. So it is not a terror, it is not a horror show, it is a blessing. And it is a blessing when it is used this way. Use what is occurring to push you to the light. Be repelled by the darkness. Be repulsed by the darkness. Allow it to push you to the light. And this is possible. This is exactly what happens if you don't self-identify with the darkness. If you can manage to completely reject the darkness and not take any of it on as your identity, the media can say all manner of things to scare you, to make you fearful and full of dread. But if you choose to reject the message and say, in a sense, F you, I do not buy into this, I reject this, I will not be a part of this, I understand that there is an agenda at play, and fear is being used as a strategy to manipulate. Therefore, I have no part of it. I will not buy into it emotionally at all. And this is a rejection, a repulsion. And the darkness, if it cannot be absorbed, then it can only repel. This is the metaphysical nature of the light and the dark. If you do not take on the darkness, if you do not self-identify the darkness, if you choose, I am not afraid, I am not angry, I am not depressed, then you will be not self-identifying with the darkness. And when you don't self-identify with the darkness, in its presence you are pushed to the light. And this is how the darkness is used. If you do not want to be a part of the darkness, it does not mean that it still has no use to you. Use it to push you to the light. Become more expressive of the light. Become a beacon of the light. Because if you are not the darkness, then what are you? You are, of course, the light. The love and light of the infinite Creator. And the characteristics of the light are love and its derivatives. So be expressive only of this spectrum of energies, because this is a expression of the true nature of who you are. You are the love and light of the One. Therefore, only energies of this light spectrum are a true expression of who you are. So allow the darkness to push you to it by rejecting the darkness trying to gain entry into your self-identity. So this is the gap in the wisdom field that we are sensing. This intuitive knowing there is something to be understood in this arena where the darkness seems to be so overbearing, overshadowing, seems to be a growing dark cloud. The light is much more powerful than the darkness. However, the light is humble. The light is unassuming. The light is not requiring recognition, is not requiring adulation, is not requiring the greediness of the ego. And so the light appears to be unassuming. And so, because it is unassuming in nature compared to the darkness, which grandstands, which shouts from the stage, which uses the megaphone, which makes things seem much bigger, much worse, much more oppressive, much more powerful than they truly are. So comparatively, it seems as though the darkness is where the power lay. But in reality, the darkness is very verbose because it is weak. And the light is very unassuming because it is so powerful. Because it has no need to flex its muscles. Because it is truth. It is the true essence of the Creator. And the darkness is nothing more than the binary within the physical illusion, so that the light can have the opportunity to experience itself. The darkness is nothing more than the shadow of the light. So, in your earth human field now, with what is happening, and the darkness fluffing its feathers and trying to make itself appear bigger than it truly is, do not self-identify with the darkness. Do not say to yourself, I am afraid, I am angry, I am despondent, I am depressed, I am worried, I am anxious. Because this is the surreptitious nature of the darkness. The darkness invades you as the host and yet the parasite. And it fools you into believing that you are it, that you are afraid, that you are angry, that you are depressed. However, this is a misconception of self. You are not those things. You are the love and light of the One. You are love and its derivatives. Only. Ever. So, be repelled by the darkness toward the light. Start treating others in the human field with love and light. Be in the mindset of what would Jesus do. Because this is a great mechanism for aligning yourself into the light that you are. And to act from the impulse of light that you are. Ultimately, this all comes to an end when the polarization to the light within the human field crosses a threshold. And the radiance of the light makes it impossible for the darkness to exist. And this will be the result of you and others polarizing to the light. This is how it ends. This is part of the necessary mechanism. So don't hate the darkness, because the darkness is playing a very vital role in pushing you to the light. You are being blessed by the darkness because it is polarizing you and all of humanity into the light, so that humanity can begin the next paradigm of what it means to be an earth human. Similarly, for those who are at the epicenter of darkness in the human field, those elites that from the shadows manipulate the world for their own greedy, selfish benefit. They also are beings incarnated from the light. They are as much the love and light of the One as you are, although in the physical experience through the avatar, they are not expressive of that as much as you are. But nonetheless, when ascended from the illusion, they return to a state of pure love and light just as you do. And just as you did prior to this lifetime, you chose to be born into the life scenario that you now live. And they also, prior to their incarnation, chose to be born into the experience that they now live. And they made that choice because they wish to discover themselves as the love and light of the One through the physical experience, just as you do. But also, they wish to serve the greater humanity. And they understand that the greater humanity is served when the greater humanity finds the light through the gauntlet of the darkness, through the repulsion of the polaric field of darkness, pushing you and the rest of humanity into light. The darkness must be of such a potent intensity that it bifurcates humanity and pushes the bulk of humanity into the light. This requires those at the epicenter of darkness to be so dark that their repulsion can shift an entire global species into the light. So, although they manifest in their experience, which you share with them, as the most dark, diabolical, dreadful form of humanity that has ever walked the earth, they are, in a sense, so loving and so giving of themselves so that you may find the light, that they have chosen to incarnate into a human experience within the illusion of creation. Because this is all just a playful context to fulfill the divine purpose of discovering the self as the One. They have lived a life steeped in the intensity of darkness, at the epicenter of darkness, where there is very little likelihood of being included in the ascension to the new human paradigm in the fourth density. They will forego that journey with the rest of humanity into the fourth density as their sacrifice to ensure that you can. Such is their love for you. And we make this point because when you have this expanded understanding, then it becomes much easier to stop loathing and hating those people and instead loving those people for the role they play, for the service they provide. And through this understanding, you again, yet more and more, purge the darkness. The hate is not mine. It is not me, because I am a being of the light, and only the light. And therefore, I let go what is not me, to further reveal what is truly me, the love and light of the One. And this, on a global-wide basis, is what will eventually extinguish the darkness. And so all manner of control I have over the human field will literally disintegrate, crumble, become impotent, ineffectual. And this time will be over. So, have faith. Understand the mechanism of discovering the light through the darkness. And allow this overbearing, overshadowing appearance of the dark cloud to further polarize you into the light. Be the master of your experience and use all facets of it to further fulfill your divine purpose. To know thyself experientially, which is to know thyself as the love and light of the One. We thank you, we love you, and greatly we admire you for the journey that you have decided to take in the Earth Human field. It is truly an epic show, and it is a badge of honour to be as brave and courageous and sacrificing to decide to be born here as a grand experiment so that the rest of creation may learn from your experience and itself begin a new paradigm based on the richness of your experience. Thank you.